started to break. And in this church, this is just a regular church in the middle of the city. And when you look up, you see, look at this absolutely cracking ceiling with these massive timbers. No matter how hot it gets outside, it's going to be lovely and cool in this place. But this church is very typical of what I've seen in these Italian churches, which is it's got the same layout. It's a big, long building. It doesn't have the typical cross layout, which I think is dictated by the architecture of the place, right? You can't level everything around it, or maybe you could. But what I really like about these churches is that while you've got the tabernacle in the middle, left, you've got all of these small little sub places, and on the right, you've got as many again, right? So in other parts of Europe, what happens is in other parts of Europe, what you have is a sort of focus on the tabernacle, right? But here, you can stop to multiple places. And it's this layering of complexity, which I think belies something that's deeper. Okay, it's not a unifocal towards the center of the church, but there are repeatedly locations that prompt the mind, almost like what stained glass ended up doing for other places. They don't have any stained glass here, and as you can imagine, they never did in this church. It just wouldn't make any sense. The style is totally different. But you don't need stained glass because you have the infusion of color comes from these tremendous kind of baroque pieces. And then you've got to look at this for the rawness. That is, well, frankly, grim, right? Puts it right there in front of you. And here's Padre Pio, and you have something very different here, right? You have a type of layering and interconnecting, which really strikes me, because you could imagine somebody who comes here focusing solely on St. Teresa, focusing solely on this Pieta, focusing on this painting, focusing on Padre Pio. And there's a kind of a matrix effect going on. And I think that speaks to a real depth of thought and a depth of possibility of interaction that sometimes gets lost out in other churches. And I think us moderns come in and we go, oh, they just liked art. They just like to see all the paintings. And I think there's an awful lot more going on. Look here, we've got this 15th century, maybe 16th century painting. Pretty cool, right? Okay, thanks for enduring my ramble.